All right, greetings everyone. How is everyone doing today? Yeah, we've got another one in store for you. Healing is electric.
Greetings,
Electric
everybody.
healing.
Greetings, family.
Greetings, everyone.
Yeah, hopefully everyone's been vitalizing. Hopefully everyone's been getting a little bit of the red light from the last talk. And yeah, now it's all about the voltage and ways we can improve our electricity, So there are some elements that does tie in with what we were speaking about last time. So again, remember we're trying to make everyone have a holistic understanding of their body and the environment around them. So yeah, stay in tune. We've got our special guest here again, Leon Marshall straight from
Greetings, everyone.
Jamaica. You're still in
Yeah,
Jamaica, isn't it?
I'm in St. Thomas in Jamaica. So I'm in the countryside and just out here for a couple months. I think well-deserved break, time to reflect and relax and that sort of stuff. So that's what I'm doing for the next couple of months, just chilling in St. Thomas. Sometimes the internet cuts off, so if I do cut out, forgive me, I'll try and log back in as soon as possible. But yeah, out in the country and just enjoying the weather, boy. Hot,
Yeah,
hot, hot.
I just realized you got the red, gold, and green there. In the,
Oh,
I didn't even acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? I said, no, you're back home, man.
Yeah, man. Back
Colors,
home.
everything. That made me laugh. Yes. Oh man. So all the stuff we're gonna go through, I just hope say that because we've been covering a lot of the topics over the last few weeks, the last few lectures about this electricity and voltage. And it's time to really bring it all together. We're going to try and go a little bit deeper into understanding where it's coming from. Yeah, the origin of this whole energy and wave that we're going to look into, this whole electricity and voltage. But we are definitely on a really important journey here when it comes to trying to understand the body. It's all about what we're going to discuss. Have your pens ready? I think Christos is going to take us through introductory level. Boy, someone said to me the other day, it almost come like a university level that we'd be talking at.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
definitely.
saying? Yeah, it comes so. So we like university
Like
entry level.
free university information, boy.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Information that takes a lifetime for people to collect. And most information is life experience, isn't it? Because you read stuff, you hear stuff, then you have to apply the stuff. And then when you apply it, then you have a deeper way of understanding and accessing another level of the information. So we have gone through those stages here and is trying to take it to another level of understanding.
greetings and welcome everyone. So, healing is electric. So, when we are, oh,
Just for a minute.
meant to go into slideshow. I'm way ahead of myself. Got to go to slideshow mode. That's a little bit better now. So, healing is electric. So, the first question we might ask is, what is electricity? Yeah, what is electricity? So, electricity is everywhere. Um, it's in lightning, it's in our computers, our cell phones, it is in our car system, it's in our stereo, it's in our nervous system. Electricity is what makes up life and is a big part of life. Without it, things are not so animated. Things are practically in a more of a dead state. So when you're looking at electricity, a simple definition is electricity is a flow of an electric charge. Yeah. So the next question you might be asking is, well, okay, so what is a charge? So when we're looking at a charge, we're looking at an atom. And what we can see in this atom, we can see in the middle here, we've got the protons, which are positively charged, And then we've got all these electrons whizzing around it, which are negatively charged. You also got neutrons, and neutrons also help with the whole stabilization of the atom. But you've got the three main things: protons, neutrons inside here, that's the orangey bits, and electrons. But we're really going to focus on the protons and the negatively charged electrons, because these are what actually is holding each other together. These are what's helping to stabilize the atom. So they very much rely, and both of their energies, you can say, or both of their charges, they neutralize each other to make it very holistic and stable. All right. When we're looking at protons, it's the protons which make up the atomic number, and it's the atomic number which gives it its name, it gives it its characteristics. Interestingly enough, when we're looking at the word atom, and when we're looking at the word Adam, and we're talking about Adam from the Bible, we can see that the atom and the atomic number has an influence and effect of naming what it is. So, for example, if it's got one proton and its atomic number is one, which relates to the number of protons, then it is hydrogen. If we've got here two protons and the atomic number is two, it is helium. So this atom is different from this atom just by way of the proton or the atomic number. So when we're looking at atom, and then we're looking at Adam as well, Adam was, the character in the Bible that went around naming things with Eve. But Adam, there's a play on the word Adam. That's the character that was, going around naming things. And then we got atom, which again is naming things based on the number of its atomic number. But let me not digress. So main thing to focus on and remember is we're looking at the positively charged proton and negatively charged electrons, and both of these are equal in each other to make it stable. Now, if we have, for example, let's say this electron goes missing, then what will happen is that atom will become more positively charged. When we're looking at positive and negatively charged, it can get confusing if we're looking at solely as good or bad. So it's not to get confused with good or bad. However, in the sense of the body and what we're dealing with, we're going to say that negatively charged is good and then positively charged is bad. Yeah. So that's basically what a charge is. A charge is basically the polarity of the atom, whether it's more negatively charged or positively charged. In the case of the body, we prefer the body to be negatively charged. Yeah, so I don't want to get confused. I think that my Siri's speaking, Siri's listening. But yeah, so don't get confused by good and bad when it comes to negative and positive. All right, so, okay, so how does electricity move? So positively charged, negatively charged, that doesn't really tell us how it moves, but we're going to see how electricity moves. So when we're looking at just to make things simple, let's just imagine this, a copper wire, a battery, and imagine this is like a copper wire. This is what that's demonstrating. We can see that the negatively charged electrons are moving from somewhere where there's a high number of electrons to somewhere with a low number of electrons. And this is what creates the current. This is what creates the movement of electricity. In this battery, we can see this negatively charged side and the flow of electrons moving to the positively charged side. Because when we're looking at like versus like, so when we're looking at two negatively charged particles, they're going to run away from each other. And when we're looking at two charge particles, they're also going to want to. From the electrons, we can see that it's trying to change and go in the direction of where there's less of its own self. Yeah. So the negative electrons are moving to more positive, because its is basically known as the current, and it's measured in amps. So voltage. So if we look back at this diagram here, keep this in mind within the electric circuit, which helps to push the charged electrons. So when you see here, so an increased voltage would be an increased pressure of more negatively charged electrons, and all of that would increase the voltage, also known as electrical tension. Yeah. So voltage is basically, in another word, just the increased amount of electrons, which is really just increasing the volume within the same space. So more electrons flowing through this copper wire would basically increase the electrons. Sorry, would basically increase the voltage. So more electrons moving through here will increase the voltage of the circuit. All right. So we now can see how electricity moves, but that's only through a wire. How does the electricity move through the body? So in the body, it's not so much of an on and off mechanism that's happening. It's more in the state of it's going to be a little bit more negatively charged or a little bit more positively charged. Whereas in the copper wire, you can get the on and off. You know, the electrons are either moving or it's not. It's on or it's off. But with the body and the electrons through a solution is, you know, basically that can be anything like from our blood plasma to our saliva to our stomach acid. When we're looking at the solution is not on or off because it's not, you know, a copper wire, but it's either going to be more negatively charged or more positively charged. And again, just remembering, we want things to be a little bit more negatively charged in regards to it being, you know, beneficial to the body, as we will see why in a moment. Okay, so how can we measure the electricity in our body? So you can get voltmeters, which can directly measure the voltage in our body. And just to give you an example, when we're looking at electrons as well and the movement of electrons from one atom to another, you get what we call, if I go back to the slide actually, just to make it make sense. So yeah, when we're looking at the electrons are either, there's atoms either have an abundance of electrons where they're donating electrons, or lacking the electrons, which may steal the electrons from different parts of the body or different elements around us. So for example, someone with voltage can go outside, do a bit of grounding, and in that the abundance of electrons in the ground will simulate in the body and be transferred. Again, because we're looking at electrons moving from a state or a medium with not a lot of electrons, where there's an abundant electron, to a place where there's less of itself. So when we, let's see here. So when we're looking at millivolts, we can see that, this is just an example, but 100 plus millivolts means and remember the plus is negative, it means that there is 100 millivolts of stealing power. Yeah. So if I put the voltmeter, let's say, in a part of the body, and I saw that there was plus 100 millivolts, I will now know that that area is lacking in in the electrons, and therefore it has a potential to want to steal 100 um, stealing power of electrons from somewhere else, and vice versa. Now, when there's, let's say, minus 100 millivolts, then again, that means that there's 100 millivolts of donating power. That means, let's just say if I put in a part of the body and it said minus 100 millivolts, that basically will mean that it's actually got an abundance of 100 millivolts of electrons that it wants to donate to balance itself, because the body is always trying to achieve balance. These figures here were just to help you understand the concept, but we're going to go into truer figures right now. So um, I know Leon's going to touch on this in a little bit more detail, so I'm not going to go too much into this. But basically, we have the pH scale, alkaline foods here, and acidic foods here. I'm not going to talk about that too much, but I'm just going to show you how millivolts relates to the pH. So I use a number of 100, minus 100. That was just to help you understand. Ignore those numbers. These numbers are definitely way more accurate than what I just told you. So pH and the millivolts in our body. So this information was from the book Healing a Voltage, where they found that at 0 pH plus 400 millivolts, in regards to the pH being, in fact, I'm wondering, I think I've made a mistake there, actually. Let me get back to you on that one. So minus 400 millivolts is 14 pH. And then we've got the plus, so that is correct, So basically, my 400 millivolts is 14, plus 400 millivolts is 0 pH. When we're looking at the body's achieving the balance of 7 pH. So the normal range here, 7.45, that's where the body is functions at its optimal. And when we're looking at the millivolts, that's between minus 20 millivolts and minus 20 millivolts. So if we have a look at this chart here, to things like cancer, which again, remember, positive is bad because the body needs electrons, and it needs electrons because it's lacking the electrons. Yeah. So again, that's why it's plus 30. In regards to, what's normal, we can see the pH between 7.35 and 7.44 or 7.45. And we can see that that's in a slightly negative state, which means that it's got a little bit of electrons, in another word to say, so they've got a little bit of electrons at hand to, keep it a little bit more negatively charged in a little bit more of a electron abundant state. Now we can see that children at a higher voltage, and the reason why they got more electrons is because they're growing. So they need their body to have enough of a voltage to use that energy for growth, for quicker repair, etc. And then we can see that if someone has any injury or any inflammation or they strain their muscles, or they bang their arm, the body voltage in that specific area will increase substantially just to make new cells. So this, when we look at this chart, we can see how disease is happening, or even being unwell is happening when we're lacking the electrons. And we can see how health is promoted as we're increasing the voltage and increasing the electrons in the body. So what can I do to increase my voltage, and what happens if I don't? So when we're looking at the voltage, it's always really important to know that, yeah, the body is 70% water, and oxygen and water have a very special relationship with each other. So when you decrease the voltage in the body, which is 70% water, with oxygen to be, absorbed in the water. So what will happen is the voltage drops, and then the oxygen levels also drop. When we're looking at the importance of why we need oxygen, we could see that oxygen plays a role in increasing our energy in our body. It increases via the way of the mitochondria. So the more oxygen we have, and when we put oxygen in something called the Krebs cycle, which is how our body produces energy, we can see that the more oxygen we have, the abundance of energy and ATP we have. And the difference between lack of oxygen, creating ATP, and abundance of oxygen, creating ATP is significant, very, very significant. Also, when we're looking at lack of oxygen, again, by way of the reduction of the voltage, bacteria and stuff like that, they love to thrive in areas where there's not a lot of oxygen, because higher levels of oxygen will kill and keep a lot of the bacteria stable. As soon as the oxygen levels drop, again, by way of the voltage dropping, we're going to have a whole wide range of bacteria. We're also going to be more prone to diseases, more prone to cancers, as you saw in the previous slide. So I know Sahu and Liam is going to talk about it in more detail, but these are just ways you can increase the voltage of the body: grounding, alkaline food, alkaline waters, and even hugging, positive people, because by hugging someone, there's always going to be the exchange of electrons. That's why, you can see why a sick child, gets better by hugging their parents. The parent might actually feel a little bit more drained by doing the hugging, and the child will feel better because that's that natural exchange that will take place. Again, if the parents is full of energy because they've been eating the right food, then they might not feel so tired. And ways to decrease the voltage in negative people. We know that feeling, being around negative people in negative spaces, and how we feel so tired and so drained. Junk and processed foods, again, is going to make our blood more acidic, make our body more acidic, lower the voltage, and cause a whole host of problems, which, with the negative people, with all the other things, is going to decrease our voltage. Tap water, definitely. The stripping down of water with all its natural minerals and properties is going to decrease the voltage, because then that tap water is going to rob your body to process it, for it to be processed in the right way. And sleep deprivation, that will also lower our voltage by way of, not having enough energy to repair, and not allowing the body to absorb the electrons from the environment or just recuperate. That's going to make us at a lower voltage state. And we know that by feeling less energy. So yeah, these are just some definitions. Electricity, the flow of a charge. when we're looking at voltage being the pressure in a circuit, the current being the rate at which electrons flow, measured in amps. And yeah, I think I missed out charge there. And yeah, charge is just whether an atom is more negatively charged or more positively charged. And yeah, that is it.
Very, very
That's,
powerful information. Very powerful.
yeah,
Yeah, man.
that's just it in a nutshell.
In a
Very
nutshell, you
simple.
went in.
And
When in
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, that's foundation. But we do need to understand the charges and how these things there flow and how it affects the body. So I wonder if there's any questions about what we just went through. But while we're doing pondering upon any questions there, you can write them down or you can raise your hand to ask questions. Yeah. That whole aspect of the charge itself, how much charge the body requires, and how much charge is taken from your environment. Like you was talking about the child, for example, and the mother.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
With something like
everything
this, Christos.
just from one, yeah, everything's just going from one polarity to the next, high to low, abundance to less abundance,
Mm.
and that's movement,
That's an attracting quality.
even yeah. And it makes you wonder because even when you're looking at the mind, and this attraction business or
Yeah.
so-called law of attraction, yeah, we can see the same thing happening, of, our desires, you know, a person who hasn't got a lot of money, might have that burning desire to, get a lot of money, by just the expression of being in an environment, seeing what they don't have, looking over to the east, seeing what they do have, and then kind of naturally making that transition in that direction. We can see it is that law of polarity when we was talking about the Hermetic laws.
That's right. We're diving deeper into those laws there. Literally applying them. So a few questions there, Christos. One is, how do you test my pH? But I think Leon will go through that in a moment, I think Leon's going to go through stuff in a bit more detail because Christos really just touched the surface of that. What was the other question there, Christos?
It is, so where can you ground properly if soil is depleted and not near sand beaches? Well, let us give the Sahu and Leon a chance to speak. If they do touch it, then we'll answer it at the end.
Yeah,
because I'm sure there's something.
I'm not specifically touching any of that stuff there, but I do still think that Leon should be. But as Christos said, if not, we just go back to these questions at the end. Well, if that's the case, then well, because we're just going to deep dive, sidetrack, do a little shuffle like a crab. Like walk to the side to go forward. We just be walking to the side to go forward right now. So we're like sidestepping. And what I mean by that is because we're going to go into understanding the electric universe. We're gonna touch upon the basic principles that govern all the sciences that we are going into. So when we're talking about voltage, electricity, whether we're talking about plasma, whether we're talking about geography, physics, biology, whether we're talking about mathematics, it's like any science really. The mother science of all science is cosmology, and cosmology is being overrun by a particular perception. That's by a particular perception, the Big Bang. But we're going to suggest some ideas here to see if we can have expand our awareness on the possibility that maybe the Big Bang is a weird idea, and we can actually get a clearer understanding of the universe and the interaction of the body. Because being the mother science, even when it comes down to understanding the body, cosmology is involved in this. So we are ultimately now doing a correspondence scenario. Chris just done a polarity situation there. Well, we're going to do correspondence. So let's just go through this electric universe and take a deeper understanding to what it means. They are a few different things that we are looking out for when we're understanding this particular concept. And the main thing is that from from an electric point of view, being that the whole universe from this perception here is electric, I would like to take it a little bit further and say it's electromagnetic. It's the two qualities and an additional third partner involved in the situation. I'd like to do that in a few moments. But for now, we're just going to go along the idea of what is being proposed. So the idea is that electricity powers the sun and the stars, and that all cosmic occurrences are electrical in nature. The main people that done this research were electric engineers. I believe so. They had one physicist in it. And the physicist that was involved in the original, well, not the original, we say this accumulation of the science, he was dead against it. And I was reading some report that he was, someone who is against the electric concept idea contacted him, and then the gentleman replied back with an email. And on his YouTube channel, the guy read out the email, actually printed and showed it on the screen. And there was nothing positive was said in that about the electric universe. The man who would have the greatest knowledge of it, because he's working with the guys at the moment, the last 15 years, he's doing the research. He's working with them. I'm just putting this out there that the electric universe concept to mainstream science is a no-no. It don't exist. It's nonsense. What I'm talking here to a person who studies physics all their life, from school, gone into university, and gone up to master's, PhD. This is all nonsense. But there are aspects of it which need to be paid attention to. And we're going to try to touch upon them thing there. So the idea is all from one bang. And that bang there, from that singularity, that swirling of matter and mass, how the concept goes with the Big Bang, from there was a sudden moment where everything exploded, bam, poof. And matter was spread out through the universe. And as it spread out through the universe, as time elapsed over time, it started to form different states of matter till we get to the state where we have planetary bodies, galaxies, suns, comets, and all these things there. The comet themselves, according to the Big Bang Theory, was spiraling out of the center of this bang. So it's like ice, and it's this kind of ice cream melting kind of scenario. A comet. So these are the various stages that have gone through the Big Bang. We have matter that depend upon the density, the electrons that are circulating around, depending upon the heat and the temperature. Ultimately, you know, I love this here. Ultimately, depending upon how the geometry is lined up upon layers, determine different matter structures. And all that can be ultimately, as a human being, can be manipulated through our breath. and through certain movements and exercises. We're not going, some of these require extreme levels of heat, so probably not possible being here on Earth. However, some are not, like the time crystal. It all depends, and that's supposed to be a matter organization that allows us to go back and experience the same situation again, like a loop. So matter, according to the Big Bang and the way everything is, how we see it now, is from this explosion of particles that over time are massed together. And there are a lot of holes in this. From what I understand at the moment, when it comes to the electric universe, they don't have this level of breakdown to say from singularity, something exploded and expanded outwards. I haven't come across this yet, or maybe it's my understanding. But from what I do understand, that the universe itself, from an electric point of view, all these various suns themselves are like the energy source, but they are fed through a greater source, let's say in the center of the universe itself, or let's say the center of a galaxy. You have a big sun, and that big sun is radiating and pulsing out energy. And along these particular lines or cables, it's connecting to other suns. And it's like a big old grid network from a central sun. So then it would be more like then, in the center of the universe, if we're going to go back to a Big Bang origin, from my own perception here, from a Big Bang origin, let's say, then the mass that collated, that's in that space there, is radiating and pulsating, generating waves of energy. Waves of matter is being released into the universe. And as those waves of matter are being released out into the universe, then they're formating, coming together and forming new structures. So if we're going to go back to that level there, it comes a bit like this. But if in the vastness of this space here, we're looking at the same ideas of what Christus spoke about. This is why with this electric universe concept, we have to really add in the other energy, which is the magnetism. So we're really moving through poles and polarity, and things have an attraction, an affinity, and non-affinity. The interesting factor with all of this when it comes to the electric energetic movement, because we be observing the universe out in the stars and collecting all this data. But as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at correspondence. As above, so below. There are many things down here on Earth that we can create a concept or place into the heavens through our man's own imagination. You can create, let's say, a car, a vehicle that you see every day as above, so below. Where is the vehicle in heaven, if we're going to be so specific like this? I mean, I suppose you can create a comet or a moving planet that, from our point of view, looking out as a vehicle. So we can say that there's a vehicle in heaven, if you're going to keep it that simple there. And there are many excuses when you start getting technical like this. But this isn't really getting technical now. Or it is getting technical, but what I mean, that this is the science of how things function. So if it's doing it on Earth, it's doing it up in the heavens. You don't have to reimagine something to create an idea, to see a similarity. You don't have to correspond that way there. You're corresponding directly with, yeah, it's here and it's up there. Basically, electricity moves from the positive to the negative here, and it does the same thing everywhere outside in the universe. That factor is not changing. And this is the same idea that they propose into the sun itself, that the sun itself is not generating energy from the center. It's energy coming out. And this is why the outer part of the sun is hotter than the interior part of the sun. You would think that the core would be the hottest, but when they do observations of sunspots, you tend to find that the sunspot is dark. When you see an arc coming out of the sun, it's a dark arc in the center, which means the darkest point is coldest point. So we have energy, electricity moving through the universe, and we are aware now through what has been explained to us that these are negative charged particles that are moving through in a direction. It's not scalar field in that way there, because they're actually moving through time and space. But when a sun is interacting at these high, or when matter is interacting at these high densities, then it creates what's really getting a big topic now, and that's plasma. Plasma science, it feels to me that we call this the electric universe concept or theory, not a theorem yet, but it sounds like we're saying plasma science, plasma universe. That's what it seemed like what's really going on out here. And I say that because when you look at plasma and you look at like a plasma ball and you see the center, which would be synonymous to actually a sun or a central power node, a battery in the center there that's emitting the energy. The wonderful thing about the way in which current flows, it makes sparks and it makes arcs, as you can see here, these arc shapes and these sparks. And these are signs of electricity, but electricity or electron moving freely. Now, depending upon the temperature, we just have a different expression of this. And it's understanding that plasma seems to be the most fundamental thing that we are always returning back to. We're at the moment looking at electron, but what is the particle involved in electricity movement? And we know it's electrons, but they are moving freely, but they are moving along a charge, yes, but they are organized. It's when they're free from a nucleus is when things change. So we see this, the plasma arcs, we can recreate it through a plasma ball. We see this out in the universe. These same arcs have been recorded, and they call them Birkeland currents, and they intertwine when they start to look deeper into them, as you can see on the right-hand side there. This is interacting with the Earth's ionosphere, and it's also going far out into the galaxy. So these Birkeland currents at the moment, they found this. They believe that these are the currents, or these are the cables which is carrying the energy from the center or from another battery, as the sun is not the main battery. So things are connected over vast distances with invisible threads, but it's still connected. And you know, when you look at this plasma ball, and we're looking at the connectivity, because you know, I'm gonna say it again, when we're looking at sciences which are hard to understand, which are advanced, or there's not much clarity, we have to constantly give examples or make reference to things that we do know and things we have seen. So we hold a charge ourselves in our body. We have a certain voltage, not too high. Our cells have a certain voltage. But interestingly enough, as soon as we make contact, the electrons naturally want to connect to those points. And that is similar to, when I'm looking at this, to distant suns. An attraction across the vastness of space, and then the line itself would manifest in a concentrated manner like this. When it is colder, they are less visible. When the temperature is much higher, they become more visible, these lines are. And it's all coming out from a big sun. Man, when you look at some of these images of the size of suns, they're humongous, is an understatement. However, there are a few issues going on with Big Bang Theory. This is why electric theory is overriding it. All these things here, and it's not even going to make sense, so I'm just going to mention it just to put it out there. in physics, they do not understand these things here, how heavy elements are created in the sun. Even the solar spectrum, it's like no one can agree to anything. Neutrinos is an idea about the sun being at extreme high temperature, because some of the research that they found can't justify using the Big Bang theory, but you can justify using the electric theory, because we're looking at current flow and current and electricity building up a charge building. So it can't be explained. Solar atmosphere, all this stuff here, sunspot migration, the change in size, solar density, man, all these things here, there's no agreement on. And a lot of those things there can be answered through the electric theory. I'm going to move on from that one there because we're just doing an introduction to this concept here. Another thing, so they use those concepts here, these different points here, the electric universe scientists use these concepts to show that in solar physics, they don't know what they're talking about, basically. Way too many things that you can't answer. And it's basically the function of how the sun operates. So as we're gonna, another thing, which is how comets come into existence, is another way in which the electric universe really gives clarity to saying that the universe is electric. And they're usually seen as a small object moving through space, has ice around it, break apart over time, enters our solar system and goes back out. When you're looking at it from a electric universe point of view, the idea is proposed that comets are actually fragments from another planet. It's not no ice particle formed from the beginning of the universe. It's a planet that has become fragmented and it's created its own orbit. And in observing that, they're able to get clarity that the comet actually, if it is a solid body from a planet, that means it can have an electromagnetic field, and this electromagnetic field will shift depending upon how close it is to a sun. You will see the comet blaze behind it if it's close to a sun because of the temperature, because of the electrons. When it's out in the furthest part, you won't see that. So this is one of the major things that actually puts the electric universe, and it's important because when we start saying that the body is electric, we have to backtrack. Is the universe electric then? Man, if the body is electric, or if, let's say, if the body is not electric, then what is the body? If it's just matter, particles just come together, some electricity and voltage, it's true, but that's not what it's based upon, then yeah, like a comet or like a sun. But then because we hold firm to this idea that it's not separate what's down here to what's up there. How the universe moves and how we move, how things move here, it's the same because we're occupying the same space. Ultimately, one more thing. So this is the understanding of what a comet is from the Big Bang and from the electric universe point of view. So we have a planet in our solar system that from ancient of time has been referred to in many different ways, negatively. I'll say sometimes positive, but generally negative. There's in many instances, they call them rare events, but Venus itself can create a tail. It can actually show signs of being a comet-like object in the sky. And that's on the dark side of it. So as Venus is moving through, we've seen a tail form behind it as it's going forward. And when we look inside of Venus, for the first time, they were able to, through imaging, using various different types of light, So this is 6 different images.
I'm not on camera right now.
Hmm? Yeah. Yeah. So these are 6 different images put together to show that within Venus itself, there's an electromagnetic movement going on where there's 2 objects moving around. Important. Why? Because according to Big Bang, Venus is a rock. This reflects the light of the sun. Not much more going on than this here. It's quite close to the sun, so it has a certain level of heat. But this shows activity internally. And you can see the front and also the back where it's the most darkest. Venus, so we're coming to an end because we are just trying to connect heavenly, the universe, the cosmos around us, to us, to our existence. It is important to have an overview of the whole process as opposed to a focal point, let's say. And I say overview is that in ancient time, Venus had many deities that was associated with it because of its brightness, because of the way in which it moved. When it was expressing this tale, then there was always calamity going on, always a problem. So when they backtrack astronomically through time, they find that this occurs. With that, you have certain deities associated with this Venus, showing again an electric connection without an intention, or maybe there was an intention. It's just the way stuff is explained. So I'm just going to tell one story of Sekhmet, and it's where, and everyone should know this story, but the story which everyone knows is the same story that other cultures refer to their experience when comets are passing through. And this is the story where Ra is enraged with humanity and he calls forward Sekhmet and he asks her to go and calm, or actually to go and ease them. Yeah, calm them down. Humanity is not paying attention to the situation here, and she gets upset with this, and she after as time passes on and sees the ungratefulness of humanity, she gets a bloodlust and she starts killing humanity. Ra tries to calm her, and there are a few variations, but Ra tries to calm her, but her bloodlust is so severe that his words have no effect. So instead, he drugs her, and she ends up becoming drunk. And in that state, he's able to subdue her and move her out of the equation. So the main thing in this whole story, because the stories vary, but tell a similarness, where Sekhmet is basically sent to Earth to destroy humanity, is the long and short of it. The same way humans assumed Venus when present, as soon as that came in, that when soon it was seen, there was calamity and death around the corner. And we have to turn to Ra. We have to turn to Ra to save us, for safety. Ra being the sun god. And there are many a sun god that's been depicted, many a lightning god been depicted. And this lightning and thunder is always cosmic. And it's because we see it. It's because we bear witness to it and we observe it with our eyes. But the problem is, we have modern science that tells us a certain way things are. We have to neglect our perception of what we see to believe something which we do not see. And we do not see the Big Bang in the way in which we assume we do. But we do see an electric universe every day around us. We see currents moving. You get enough charge, and then you go to touch something, you can see a spark between two. So I hope that was a basic, can I say, to the best of my ability, breakdown on what this electric universe, what's going on with that. There is a lot of arguments, and we just try to bring the main points that the electric universe can use to actually prove that it is electric. It's not just dust and matter swirling around and flying through space, and by chance something manifests later on, a million years later.
Thank you for that, Fahua.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I
Definitely.
mean, yeah, I mean the concept, because even when you're talking about the comment
Yeah.
and it traveling, kind of looks, and it always reminds me of even like the sperm cell, you know, going into the egg. You know, you can see that kind of, and that's what's interesting about the theory as well, because if the comet is more than just, ice, who's to say that it wasn't sent there intentionally with
Yeah.
a
And
purpose?
you know what I mean? And it's just, as Miss Oswald just said, it makes a little bit more sense, some of the concepts, if we're working with common sense. If we're not working with common sense, but we're working with
Mm,
belief, then we can fight against it all day. But as you said, the comet, the 17
mm.
eyes, it's just that comet there has been going, what, millions of years from the beginning of the universe, billions of trillions. No, hold on a second. I remember when I was in my 16, 18, when I was doing research, they said that the Earth is 76 trillion years old.
Mm.
76 trillion. You mean a comet will be moving for 76 trillion years? I don't even know. That's a good. I have to believe that one there. I have to believe.
Well, one thing for certain, the comet doesn't have that perception of time. So
It's true, isn't it? Just be the
it
same thing
could be
going
like
around in
still on
circles.
day 2.
It's amazing. But it does
But with
make
the
sense.
Big Bang, they like to confuse us with theories, isn't it? So the Big Bang theory is them just basically saying we don't understand how the universe was created, so let's just create a story, you know?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
And people run with these theories because, again, like you said, if you just use common sense, everyone would just run with common sense, but they don't want people to run with common sense. They want people to follow the science.
Yeah.
Science, unfortunately, science is based off of theories. The theory of relativity, the Big Bang theory,
Yeah.
the germ theory. Everything is theory, theory. Where's the facts?
Not many. Not many
Just
theorems.
yeah.
Where are
Not
the
many
theorems?
theorems, just theories.
Yeah, it's true, you know. Give me the theorems. Only one theorem can truly come off my head when you go to that level of science. And that's Dr. Gabriel Oyibo.
Ayiba, yes.
He's the only man that when you start talking about theorem,
Yeah.
yeah, that Nigerian brother there, he's the one, isn't it? It doesn't get no. That's why they have to discredit him. That's why you
Next
don't get
level.
no recognition. No
None.
recognition. I do need to go back into him and get a bit more clarity on our and connecting these dots. Yeah,
He
man.
wrote a book, and I think Professor Kaba tried to buy it, and it was something crazy, like £500 or something like that. Like he was deep.
I think I know, you know. Hold on a second. I think I know what you're talking about there, Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. So the problem was, okay, you see, I'm back already. The problem was,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
was
is that it?
it was that was the problem because I got it in the early days.
Yeah.
You know, when you do stuff in the early days, it's like, man, you can buy these things there,
Yeah.
but it's this grand unified theorem that
Mhm.
this brother Air Yeah, this brother brought forward. Family, research into him. See what you can find out about him. He does go deep though, and you do need to have a certain baseline knowledge of physics. He's not like you need Professor Cabba there to break it down to understand what he just said.
Yeah.
You need that situation there. Even though Professor Cabba will break it down deep. But you need to break the thing down.
Yeah. It's like he's breaking down science and then Dr. Cabba's breaking down what he broke down.
Yeah. That was a powerful presentation that them two done together.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's an old one.
Yeah, man.
So you say you're ready?
Yeah. Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, yeah. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just bring this up. All right, so welcome everyone. Welcome. Now this one, so Christos touched on the basics of what electricity and voltage is. Sahu talked about the fact that they talk about how the universe is electric, but it's really electromagnetic. And Dr. Sebi was another one who said that the body is electric, and Sahu touched on that. If the universe is electric and we are part of the universe, some say we are the universe, then that would mean that we are electric. Dr. Sebi is famous for saying the body is electric. And listen to this rare clip of him talking about electricity. Listen carefully.
Electrical, how does that come in with our understanding? Are we electrical people? If I want to change, and many people out here want to change how they're living against nature and become in balance with nature, what would we do?
Electric food, you ask if we are electrical. If we were not electrical, if we weren't electrical, we would not be able to move. Just by the movement of our heart, the palpitation of the heart, which is 6,000 pounds per square inch pressure, it pushes it again. What moves the heart? There could be no movement unless that movement is electrical. So the food should be electrical, which is nutrition.
So he said that without electricity, we would not be able to move. So everything that moves, everything that's powered, including your body, is powered by electricity. And Christos went over what electricity is. So electricity is the flow of charged particles. The easiest way to think of electricity is when Christos described what electrons are and how they're whizzing around the nucleus. You got to understand that electricity is just literally the flow of electrons. So when the electrons that you see around this atom move from one atom to another, that's electricity, the flow of electrons. And as Christos brought down, an atom is the smallest unit of matter. It's made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. So the electron carries a negative charge. And this is another reason why I hate the way they teach science to us, because everything seems to be very backwards in the way they teach science. So in science, negative is good. You want more of the negative charge, like Christos said. You want your body to be in a negatively charged state, not a positively charged state. So in science, the electron is negative, the proton carries a positive charge, and the neutron is neutral. It's neither positive nor negative. Now, in the middle of the nucleus, you have the proton and the neutron. Therefore, the nucleus carries a positive charge because it's got the neutron, no charge, and the proton, positive. And then obviously around the orbit is the electrons, which is negative. Now, what did we learn from school? We learned that opposites attract. So if you've got a positive charge and a negative charge, those charges are going to be attracted to each other. What else did we learn from school? We learned that the same charge repels. So if you've got a negative charge and a negative charge, or a positive charge and a positive charge, then they're going to repel. And when we're talking about positive and negative, the easiest way, again, just like Christos explained, is to look at it like a battery. In a battery, you have the positive charge, the positive end, and the negative end, or negative charge. So look at it like this, yeah? You've got the battery, and this is a circuit. So this is an electric circuit. The battery carries the voltage. Now, most batteries are like, off the top of my head, I think it's 1.4 volts. 1.4 volts in a battery. But voltage just means energy. How much energy does that battery have? So the energy is in the battery. Now, here's where I want you guys to comment in the chat. You've got the positive end, which is the protons, and the negative end, which is the electrons. And it's showing you an arrow of how the electrons are flowing. Now, starting from the battery, starting from the voltage, which is the battery, which way do the electrons flow? Do the electrons flow from positive to negative? Again, starting from the battery, follow the circuit. Or do they flow from negative to positive? Put it in the chat. Which way are the electrons flowing? Starting from the battery. Starting from the battery, which way are they flowing? Let me see in the chat if anyone's got that. So put in the chat which way they're flowing. So negative to positive or positive to negative. I'm going to show negative to positive. Okay, so we're getting both. Negative to positive, positive to negative, negative to positive. All right, which one is it, family? Which one is it? Let me show you again. From the battery. Can everyone see that? Let me come out of this first. Hold on. From the battery, which way is it going? Because this is important to understand. The flow of electrons. Like this. All right. So if you can see, if we start from the battery, which is the charge, which is the voltage, the electrons flow from negative to positive. And Christos mentioned that, you know, voltage, electricity will flow, voltage will flow from a higher voltage to a lower voltage. So as you can see, the battery is split up into two halves, but it's not exactly half. You can see that the black end, which is the negative or electrons end, is bigger than the gold end, which is the positive or protons end. So there's more electrons than protons. So the electrons flow from the negative end to the positive end. In other words, they flow from higher voltage to lower voltage. Yeah? Higher voltage to lower voltage. Just remember that. Now, why do we need to understand it like a battery? Is because your cells are like batteries. So higher voltage to lower voltage, each one of your cells requires a certain voltage. And if the voltage is optimal, then that cell will operate optimally. But if the voltage is lowered, then you'll be in trouble. And Christos mentioned the book Healing is Voltage by Dr. Jerry Tennant. Dr. Jerry Tennant, in that book, the premise of that book is that wherever the body has low voltage, there is a problem that often manifests itself as chronic pain. So if you know anyone, if you suffer from pain, or you know anyone who suffers from pain, especially chronic pain, that is due to low voltage. That is cells that look like the battery on the left, low charge, low voltage, yeah? And this is why it's important for us to understand the body is electric or electromagnetic, yeah? It has electricity and it has magnetic fields as well. And as Christos mentioned, this is how the electricity flows. It flows from one atom to another. The negative charge flows from one atom to another because the negative charge is attracted to the positive charge. So the negative charge is flowing from an area of high voltage to an area of low voltage. And we talked about how the atom is made up, but we need to understand this because I feel like the way they teach science to us is so confusing that even when they tell us certain truths, we can't kind of put two and two together ourselves because they've explained it to us in such a complex way. So they'll tell us that, you know, the negative charge, which is the electron, is all the body needs. The body just needs electrons. The body just needs electrons. The body doesn't need protons, yeah? But if we look at electricity, the flow of electricity, the only way these electrons flow is if there's a negative charge and a positive charge. So we need electrons and protons, or there's not going to be a flow of electrons. I hope that makes sense, because electrons flow from atom to atom. But the only reason why they're flowing, well, two reasons. One, because of a conductor that's making the electrons flow. And two, because the negative charge is attracted to the positive charge. So if the positive charge is not there, how is there going to be a flow of electrons? So going back to the battery analogy, if we don't have the gold part of the battery, in other words, if that battery is just black, it's just electrons, just negative, 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 there's not going to be a flow of electrons. There's not going to be a flow of that charge, that electricity. And this is the reason why I feel like sometimes they explain science to us in a bad way. There always has to be a bad guy. So electrons are the good guys, protons are the bad guys. But as you can see, just from this battery, if the protons are not there, if that gold part at the top is not there, this battery doesn't work. This circuit doesn't work. I hope that makes sense. Now, following on from that, I'm just going to break this down. This gets just a little bit more technical, because I'm hoping that was simple. But if you can understand this, then you can understand everything on how the body works, yeah? So voltage, I've already mentioned that voltage is the charge, is the battery. So voltage, that battery has 1.4 volts, 1.4 voltage, or 1.4 energy, electricity. That's the voltage, yeah? And it releases the electrons, and the electrons flow through the circuit to the other side, which is the protons. And when the electrons start to move, that is what electricity is, the flow of electrons. If it stops, that's not electricity. When it goes, that's electricity, yeah? So you see, every time the door opens, the circuit opens, the electricity flow, the electrons stop flowing, yeah? Keep that in mind. So what keeps them flowing? I already mentioned that in order for them to keep flowing, you need a conductor. You need a conductor, yeah? So in every electrical circuit, there's going to be a conductor. And in most electrical circuits, the conductor is a metal. Does anyone know what the metal conductor is before I mention it? So in an electric circuit, so we're not talking about inside the body, let's say in your phone or in something else. If there's an electric circuit or just in a car, what is the conductor? Big up the family, big up Charles, I see you family. Big up Dorothy, big up Romanita. Yes, the material, the metal, the conductor is copper. That's the reason why most of our wires, most of the electrical wires have copper going through them, because copper is the conductor. Copper is the conductor. Now, that's outside of the human body. Here's the question now. What's the main? Now I'm speaking main because there are more than one conductors. But what's the main conductor inside of the human body? The main electrical conductor inside of the human body is, drum roll please, the main conductor is melanin. Melanin is the main conductor of electricity inside the human body. Hence the reason why they will never teach us science in the proper way. They'll never teach us about the electric universe or about electricity and conductors and resistance and capacitors. They will never teach us the truth about electricity because it will come back to melanin. Melanin is the main conductor. And if we go a step further and go back to Dr. Sebi said there's no such thing as melanin. It's carbon. And he said when carbon interacts with copper, when carbon creates friction with copper, that's what creates the electricity inside the human body. So it goes back to copper again. So carbon and copper create the electricity inside the human body. Hence the reason why they will never, never, never tell us the truth about how the human body works. Speaking of Dr. Sebi, he was famous for the acid alkaline pH scale and talking about acid foods and alkaline foods. And again, because of the way we've been taught, there always has to be a bad guy. So in science, you know, negative charge electrons, they're the good guys, protons are the bad guys. Even Dr. Sebi, he's been taught science the same way we've all been taught. There has to be a bad guy. So Dr. Sebi used to preach that acids are bad and alkaline is good. Yeah, there has to be a bad guy. Acids are bad and alkaline is good. Now, Christos mentioned this. Voltage is synonymous with pH. So when we're looking at the pH scale, we're looking at voltage. We're looking at the flow of electrons. Yeah. So under 7, that's acid. Over 7 is alkaline. And if you're right in the middle, that's neutral. So acid, this is the best way I've kind of learned about, you know, pH. You just need to get a good definition of what acids do and what alkaline do. And when you get a good definition, you start to realize that your body needs both acid and alkaline. So what do acids do? Acids accept electrons. And I like to use analogies. So think of an analogy of children or babies playing in a kindergarten. Let's say that the electron is toys. Children, babies playing in a kindergarten, they want toys. The toys are the electrons. The toys are the thing that just make them so happy. So acids accept electrons. So this is the baby accepting the toy. That's what acids do. They accept electrons. Guess what alkaline do? Alkaline donate electrons. So that would be like one child donating a toy to another. Here, you can play with my toy. Here, go play with my toy. I'm sharing my toy with you. Yeah. And then the child who's accepting the toy is acid. So in order for this to happen, in order for this exchange to happen, from the toy going from one child to another child, think of the children as atoms. In order for the toy to go from one child to another child, you need both acids and alkaline. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So are acids bad? Now, my grandmother used to say too much of one thing is good for nothing. So yes, you get too much acids, it's going to be bad for you. But health, like everything, life is about balance. So as long as you're balanced with your acids and you're getting them from the proper source, like a natural source, then there's no such thing as bad acids. Now, obviously, because of man-made stuff, processed foods and that sort of stuff, we are getting a lot of bad acids in our environment and in our diet. But think about this. In order for you to digest food, you need stomach acid. Now, acid accepts electrons. So when you're eating alkaline foods or healthy foods, your stomach has to accept the electrons, break down that food and accept the electrons from that food. That's the reason why your stomach has stomach acid. Christos mentioned the citric acid cycle. This is what happens in the mitochondria. This is how your body creates ATP. When your body breaks down fats, it breaks it down to fatty acids. For women to produce healthy babies and healthy red blood cells and that sort of stuff, they need folic acid. Our protein, everything that our body's made up of, proteins, muscles, is made of amino acids. And even our genetic makeup, DNA, is acid. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. So the body needs acid. You could argue we're made of acids. This is all inside of us. So we're made of acids. And when we're thinking about acid and alkaline, just look at the electromagnetic spectrum. The electromagnetic spectrum is all the vibrational frequencies in the known universe, and they're represented as colors. And when you look at that, for those of you who are into what they call it, chakras, those colors represent chakras. And those colors represent the pH scale. So it's all interlinked. It's all interlinked. And when we look at the pH scale, you can see that lemons, they're on the acid side. Yeah. But so is coffee. So there are certain things that we shouldn't be consuming too much of because it will create more of an acidic environment. But then look at the alkaline side, because everyone's like, oh, we need to be super alkaline, super alkaline. Look at ammonia at 11. Look at soap at 12. Look at bleach at 13. Those things are super alkaline, But if you was to consume them, you'd be super dead. So it can't just be about alkaline is good and acids are bad. That's how they teach us everything. Every time we watch a movie, there's a bad guy and a good guy. In the universe, when we're just talking about the universe, nothing is inherently bad or good. It just is. Now, there are acid-forming foods that we need to be aware of, but we're all aware of them. They're junk food, processed food, sugar, alcohol, fizzy drinks. They're all acid-forming foods. Look at the alkaline side. You've got fruits and vegetables from plants. You've also got lemons and limes, which have acid in them. You have grapefruit, which has acid in them. Pineapples have acid in them. The reason why they're on the alkaline side is because when you consume them, the body assimilates them and it creates an alkaline effect on your body. Yeah, that's the reason why we need to be getting more of the electrons from our food, which is alkaline. We should be getting it from full spectrum plant pigments, which means all the colors in the rainbow from plants. So just to reiterate, your body is an acid structure that runs on electrons. Your body requires a base or alkaline fuel source, because remember, opposites attract. So if I'm acid, I need to consume alkaline, because if I consume acid, that's going to be repulsive. So your body is an acid structure that runs on electrons. Therefore, it requires an alkaline fuel source. And remember, acids accept electrons, alkaline donate electrons. Now, if you understand that, you'll understand what a free radical is. Free radicals steal electrons. So instead of, asking politely for the toy, free radicals go around stealing the toys. So that's what free radicals do. They are stealers. They are electron stealers. That's the reason why people say you need to consume foods that are high in antioxidants, because antioxidants donate electrons. They donate an extra electron to balance out the free radical so it doesn't go around stealing. Yeah. So that's the reason why we need antioxidants. And Christos kind of went over this, the connection between millivolts and pH. So usually measuring a solution, and when they say solution, just think liquid, water, to see if it may be an electron donor or electron stealer, is done with a voltmeter. If the solution is a donor, it has a negative sign. Remember, negative is the electrons or negative ions. That would be in front of the voltage. Conversely, if it's a stealer, if it's a free radical, if it's an electron stealer, it will have a plus sign that will be in front of it. So for example, if the pH voltmeter read 150 millivolts with a plus at the front, that would mean that the solution is stealing 150 millivolts of power. A pH reading of minus 100 would mean that it has 100 millivolts of donating power. Yeah. And again, Christos went over that. So to finish up, let me just show you some electron donors versus electron stealers. Now, Christos went over some electron donors. So think about this, family. Look at what the electron donors are. Sunlight. So just being out in the sun's going to just donate electrons to you. Yeah. Here you go. Here's some electrons. The earth, when we do grounding, it's just going to donate electrons to you. Charge you up. Yeah. Free. This is free electricity. Nature. Hugging a tree. It's just going to donate electrons to you. Moving water. Very important. Moving water. Movement. You moving the internal water inside of you. Food. It has to be live or raw or natural food. Touch. Touching other human beings. Hugging other human beings. There'll be an electron donation. Whoever's got the higher charge will donate electrons to the person who has the lower charge. Rhythmic entrainment. Doing things in rhythm. Dancing with people. Rhythmic entrainment. Or being in alignment with your circadian rhythm. Yeah, so Christos mentioned a lack of sleep will definitely affect becoming an electron stealer. And then positive emotions. Christos mentioned being around positive people. Yeah. Now let's look at the electron stealers. Bad food choices, processed foods. Yeah. Xenobiotics, so drugs, medication, pollutants, tobacco, radiation, scarring, infections, still water, toxins, EMF, so electromagnetic frequencies, so all of the things that are being emitted from our laptops, our phones, that sort of stuff, blue light, and negative emotions. Now I'm going to reiterate some, and some that weren't on here. So check this out. I'm going to reiterate some. And family, chances are you have some of these. I do too. So it's not to point fingers. These are, in my observation, in my when I done my research, these are some of the most powerful electron stealers. Yeah. Oh, before I go into that, this is Dr. Jerry Tennant talking about how to charge the body's batteries. Listen to this.
With the battery packs in the human body. On one side, it's how many electrons are we putting in, and there are a lot of electron donors. Electron donors can be getting out in the sun, can be walking barefoot in the grass, it can be leaning up your body up against a tree, because the tree has electrons and will be hugging an animal. A common way that makes people in nursing homes feel better is to buy the animal runs outside and recharges itself and brings some back to you. Moving water is an electron donor, whereas still water tends to be an electron stealer. Moving air is an electron stealer. That's why when you ride in a convertible, you look really cool, but you're always tired when you get there because the wind steals electrons from you. On one hand, we look at what things can put electrons in the body, and then what things steal them. And again, the most common stealers are dental infections, emotional baggage, various toxins, particularly the toxins that we are getting from things like GMO foods and pesticides and other kinds of things, air pollution. There's a lot of toxins around us. And of course, one can almost include in the concept emotional baggage or something else.
The main one that he mentioned, he said, it's like a donor. Water is still, it's like a stealer. So how do you feel after you shower? When you take a shower in the morning, how do you feel? Now, how do you feel? Off. So it's up the water. How do you feel when you take off? The water's not moving. How do you feel when you get out of the bath? Think about it. Now, check this out. You might want to do a screenshot of this. This shows you areas, environments that have more negative charge than positive charge, or more positive charge than negative charge. So, for example, if you're in an office, yeah, which a lot of people who do 9 to 5s, they work in an office. If you're in an office, look at the difference between the positive charge, the positive ions in the air, and street area. You know, you're forest. When you're around, look at negative ions. Hot spring, look how many negative ions. And then when you're near water moving, let's Jerry Tennant, that is a huge electron stealer. It's literally zapping you of energy. Root canals, yeah, and most dental procedures. Most dental procedures are gonna strip you of electrons, yeah. So if you've got mercury fillings, yeah, what do they call them? Amalgams, I don't know what they call it, but they're, I think even the silver ones, the black ones, the mercury fillings, they're electron stealers. Yeah, we've talked about junk food, processed food. Now, processed food, a lot of the vegan food that's coming out these days is very, very processed. So you can put that in there as well. Processed food is an electron stealer. Yeah. Now, here's another one that might touch home. That is a has to electrons. This down. Bottled electric, the pH of bottled water. The majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them have an pH. That you drinking will strip you of to get electrons. Fizzy drinks, carbonated beverages, energy drinks, that electrons. The biggest is scarring. And I've been in car accidents and that sort of stuff. I've got a couple of keloid scars from having surgery. Now, me having surgery, I couldn't avoid that. Like my face was hanging off after my car accident. So I had to have surgery, yeah? But the surgery created keloid scars. Now, keloid scars is one of the main things that stops the flow of electrons. It's one of the main things inside of the body that stops the flow of electrons. So any type of scars that you have. Now, again, sometimes you can't avoid it. I couldn't avoid going to the hospital and getting but a lot of us, we're being said don't have surgery for. You need to have surgery on your knee. You need to have surgery on your hip. You need to have surgery to remove surgery for that. Surgery to be the number one solution for anything Black people are going through. Yeah, and that is arguably the biggest electron stealer. It literally blocks electrons from flowing because of the thick scarring. Yeah, and we talked about electron donation. In my eyes, you got to increase your powers to increase the electrons. So that's doing all of these things that you see in this picture. For those of you who have done it, which is power. In order for you to increase your voltage, you need to increase POWERS. Plants. You need to be getting your electrons, getting your alkaline minerals, foods, nutrients from plants. You need more oxygen. You need more water. The water will allow the flow of electrons. You need to exercise. Movement. Movement creates the flow of electrons. Movement actually creates electricity. Your muscles and bones are piezoelectric. Yeah. Rest. We need to be making sure that we're back in rhythm with the sun. That's down to our circadian rhythm, getting enough rest. Melatonin at night helps to heal our cells. And then obviously the last one is sunlight. Sunlight being the major electron donor. So in order for us to increase our electrons, increase our voltage, we need to increase our powers. Hope that makes sense. All right. So that's me done. Are there any questions, family?
Thank you, Leon. That was brilliant.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Broke that down well. The whole science of how electrons and the electricity connection to the whole body. Is there any other questions going on there?
Definitely extended on.
And my thing seems to be a bit slow now. I'm cutting in and out a little bit, it feels like.
You're kind of like freezing.
Yeah. So my reception.
I'm trying to get my video on, but somehow it doesn't seem to be coming on. Yeah. Yeah. Well, great presentation. Great. Krista, Sahu, Leon, everything connected there. I've been away because I've been working with my formulators and stuff like that, because I've seen a few things coming in. It's a pity this presentation wasn't a week later. But yeah, Dr. Lee said, as Leon mentioned, and Tesla realized was frequency. Yeah, our cells also is frequency. Now, one of the things that I've been working on is how to get oxygen continually into our cells. Because if we get oxygen directly into our cells, then there cannot be anything called disease, because the cells are so oxygenated. We need oxygen because they are just like that. So we do need oxygen in our cells for us to be able to function optimal. And as Leon mentioned, there are so many things out there that stops our cells functioning. The fizzy drinks out there. There's so many things, and again, a key one that Leon touched on was the cooked food. Most people won't believe it, but again, when you're on a raw food diet, not only is it better for you, your body realizes what the difference is. Because there's a lot of people out there saying, "Nah, I still need my chicken and fish." And I just basically now point blank tell my clients rubbish. But again, being where they are, on this chicken and fish, I was there at one point, so I know exactly what it feels like. But then I also know what it takes to transition yourself.
That's it there, Charles. Transition, isn't it?
So we are electrical beings, and again, it's all about the mind. You just got to go cold. Doing it right. Your condition different. More vibrant.
It's about balance. I think balance, with that.
Yeah.
I was watching something and it was UFC fight. And what the UFC was, and the other one was, and ET was your problem. The reason why you got all these, because you were eating that rabbit food. You threw in a ring where their blood, sweat, tears, everything, and you came into the octagon on that, and that's why you was always getting injured. And he goes, "You see me as a meat eater? I never got none of that, no injuries." So I think, I'm as a vegan as well, I'm learning that a lot of the things is the balance is the key part of it.
Yeah.
And getting that optimal, because sometimes some people, I think most people should be on a vegan diet,
It's not the case.
but I think depending on circumstance, it must be about balancing what you're taking depending on where you are. It is a journey and everyone's different places.
And that's why I don't like when they make good something a bad guy. So I wouldn't call myself a vegan nor a meat eater, because it's like they want to put one against the other, innit? So if you're a meat eater, you're against the vegans, and if you're a vegan, you're against meat eaters, and now it becomes who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, when both of you probably can be healthy. Both can be healthy. Do you know what I'm saying? Because let me just there was a study. I need to find the study, but I saw it on Instagram. One brother was talking about a study where they had these children. Did they do it with children or did they do it with animals? I have to look at it again, but it was animals. It was an experiment, and what they did is, let's say they did it with children. Yeah, two groups of children, same age, male and female. And what they did to one of the groups is they fed them bad food, like junk food, processed food, and all that sort of stuff. To the healthy food, like fruits and vegetables and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So one group is fed processed food, the other group is fed healthy food. Yeah. But you see the group that was fed healthy food, yeah, they weren't nurtured. These are children. They weren't nurtured in any way. So they weren't told that they were loved. They weren't hugged. They didn't do anything with the children. And then the children that they fed processed food to, they told them that they loved them. They done activities with them. They watched movies with them. They hugged them all the time. Yeah. And then after a couple of weeks, they done all their experiments, all their tests to see which group was the healthiest. Guess which group came out the healthiest?
The one with the affection.
The one with the love and affection,
Yeah.
showing that love is the most powerful way for us to increase our electrons. Love.
Well, we can
Yeah.
see it in our community as well, because look at the way, I mean, look at our community, look at the way a lot of people are growing.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I
Disconnected from community.
Yeah.
well, in the sense of, I see a lot of the young footballers, you know, that make it into these, you know, professional clubs. And, you know, I know what background they're coming from. But, you know, whatever alchemical process is happening, where they're looking like some next level athletes. And I know their diet ain't been the best.
That ain't been the best. Yeah.
I know something else is happening. Where you've got certain people, good people in the community nurturing these talents and creating, and just by the attention, which I can see where the study, what you're saying it makes a lot of sense, where certain people in the community are nurturing this talent and creating these extraordinary athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good point there. Because I was watching a video similar to like what Leon saw the other day, where at childbirth, and once the child had come out, the nurses gave the child, like, was looking at the child, and the child was there crying and stuff. And then the dad looked at the child and said, "It's okay, I love you. Daddy's here, I love you." And the child just stopped crying. Then the nurses start dealing with the baby again. Yeah, and this is a newborn baby, not even minutes old. And every time the baby started crying, and the dad would say, "It's okay, I love you, Daddy loves you," the baby stopped crying. So again, only love can conquer everything.
That's what we call it, isn't it? That's what we call it, Charles.
Huh?
That's what we call it, love.
Yeah.
But what we're describing here, though, I don't know, because, you know, different cultures don't have the term for love. But it seemed like we have, I read a similar research to what you are talking about there, talking about the interaction between two children and the effect that it has on the amygdala, and how the amygdala gets hijacked by those scenarios where a child is not being incorporated into a playing scenario or is being kept out of the loop. There may be a group of children and everyone passing the game or the ball to each other, but one child gets left out of that loop there. That will create in that child amygdala activation of that emotional center, stimulate the limbic system, hijack the prefrontal cortex, no longer rational thought, rational thinking, gone. And it takes long enough to develop it to in our early 20s. So a child experiencing it, it's hard for them unless they have what Christos was talking about, which is people around them that can recapture their brain and bring it back to the prefrontal cortex into a logical kind of thinking, take them out of that loop of the hippocampus and the amygdala conversation there, time warped, caught in the past moment. Yeah, man.
I know it sounds like there's so many mixed messages. You know, on one side we're saying eat vegan, eat high voltage, and then now we're just saying, you know, love can override that. But I think the main message is it's the best, doing the best out of the situation you're in.
Yeah, man.
And it's just being able to quiet yourself down enough so you know what to do, because your body will always tell you what to do. I mean, I know when my body saying, okay, you need some coconut water, you know, pop it, get some. You know, I know when I shouldn't be eating something, so I know I can't use an excuse about, okay, maybe I can eat a little bit of junk and then mix it up with the alkaline. Because, you know, especially when you're young, there comes a point where nature forgiving, it forgives young people. It allows them to make them
You say don't forgive the old folk. You're sure you will come. Like, you should learn your lesson by now. My word.
But but we're talking about children, I use the analogy of children. So when you take them, when you don't show them that love, when Christos is talking about community and kind of nurturing, that's like the circuit. That's like the electrical circuit.
Yeah, man.
So when you take them out of the electrical circuit,
That's
now
it.
they have no electrons. Now they become free radicals.
Literally.
They go around stealing. They become free radicals.
Oh man,
So
you
the
see it.
you got to put them back into the circuit. That's the reason why when they take those young boys who come from broken homes and then nurture them in a circuit, whether it's football academy or wherever, now they're back in the circuit. Now electrons are flowing. Now they're getting the love.
Yeah, that's so poetic. That deserves some clicks there.
I'm
You
telling
got to
you.
keep the children in the circuit.
Oh man,
You got to keep the children in the circuit.
this culture don't practice that. The Western Hemisphere societies don't practice keeping in circuit. And if there is a circuit you're kept it going into, like let's say for example, you go into prison and you join into that group of people, then the circuit that you're within doesn't elevate you to another stage of consciousness, let's say, generally. Yeah, man. So the circuits are controlled.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah. And we're always told to break up the circuit. So for example, family, in order for, we've been taught, especially black families been taught that you should, you know, nurture your children and make sure they go off to university. In other words, break away from the circuit. Break away from the circuit and go study somewhere, then go get a job somewhere and go live somewhere. Yeah. But then when you look at all these other groups of people, Asians, Indians, all these other people, they literally stay together. Like you'll go to their yard and the whole family's up in the yard. Do you get what I'm saying? And even if they do go off to university, they're still thinking about the circuit. I'm going off to university to help the circuit, to help the family, to help with the family business or something like that. But we think about breaking away from the circuit. All right, I need to go off to university. I need to, you know, get a job over here and live my life over here, live my life away from the circuit. Whereas other families, other groups of people.
What are them cultures, Leon? Them cultures where the women would leave the family to join the family. You know, like the woman would join the man's family.
Yeah, yeah.
Because as you were saying that.
Yeah, family to family. Yeah, exactly. Circuit to circuit.
You know what I'm saying? Because that would be like because the woman would be the electron or considered negative.
Yeah. And
then she's being attracted or being pulled over to the next family or to the man.
Yeah.
To the man going. Shit, I never really thought about that until you were just describing what you're describing there.
Yeah, and the thing is that's been in many cultures since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Where the woman can't just go with the next man. She has to go in, she has to be incorporated into the circuit, isn't it? She has to be incorporated into the family. So you're not just marrying the man, you have to marry the family. You have to literally be accepted into the circuit. But think about the narrative now. The narrative now is independent woman. The narrative now is you can do it all by yourself.
Yeah. Separate from a
circuit. The narrative now is make your own money separate from a circuit. You don't need no circuit. You don't need no man. You don't need no circuit. You can do it all by yourself.
You're the circuit. Insane.
You are the circuit. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's what they call Willie Lynch syndrome. Again, it separate the two cells. Yeah. The male from the female, and if they can separate that, they always knew that they could more weaken the family.
And Charles, you see, because you see your machines and that.
Yeah.
Is your machines basically looking at when they're detecting something wrong, or when they're detecting something imbalance, is it looking at the electrons being robbed, or does it do it in a different way?
Yeah, well, it's all frequency again, so it's all part of the frequency. So it will pick up and it will tell you basically that look, there's a deficiency here and the level of the deficiency, you know, but you do have technology that can work to the frequency of the cells, you know, and again, it's providing frequency there. But there is also, which I've been working on for a couple of months now, there is ways of getting oxygen directly into the cells, you know, and then that once we can do that with the body, then that's definitely a game changer.
Right. Okay.
You know, so it can be done using frequency, yeah, but then also they've come up with a way that we can do it alternatively other than just frequency.
So Charles,
At the electron. Sorry, by looking at the oxygen, you were saying.
But yes, it's about getting oxygen into the cells because a lot of the cells become dead or they're not charging because of a low level of oxygen directly in the cell. Because when we think about oxygen, people a lot of the time associate that with like breathing, deep breath. That's one part of it, but then another part of it is the oxygen that's getting into your cells.
Yeah. And then that correlates to if the body is able to absorb more oxygen, then we know.
Right. So yeah, so there is ways that have been working on you know, of getting oxygen into the cells, and funny enough, so far the test has shown that hold on there, people's eyesight's automatically started to improve. So then it started to get, you know, it starts off as one thing, but it's growing as to how many benefits the body is getting from just this one thing.
Okay, all right.
It's yeah, but definitely frequency can get the cells to the point where the cells is naturally absorbing more oxygen.
Okay.
So oxygen, so the oxygen that we're trying to get into the cell, Charles.
Yeah.
Like cellular respiration we're talking about here.
Yeah.
That we're talking about, the cell breathing.
Yeah, because remember, the cell's not now, once you get in the right level of oxygen into the cell is no longer aging. Yeah, so that reverses the body's aging. And once you've got that level of oxygen that the cell requires, there cannot be any disease. It cannot stay around the cell.
Let's clear one thing up for me, Charles.
Yeah.
Any of you two there. Why is oxygen given a bad name? Why is it a bad guy?
Again, because it's like, yeah, I can see why oxygen would be given that bad name, because do they really want you to be well?
That made me laugh. Oh man, it's true. But yeah, it's bad press.
Oxygen can act as an electron donor and an electron acceptor. So it can act as acid and alkaline. Yeah. So when we breathe it in, because we're getting it from plants, if you looked at the oxygen atom, it's got all of its electrons on it. So what's oxygen on the periodic table? It's 8, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that would mean that it would have 8 electrons around it. Yeah. So when we're breathing it in, we're getting 8 electrons. Yeah. For every oxygen atom that we're breathing in, and we're breathing in loads of oxygen atoms. So we're getting lots and lots of electrons. But as soon as it goes into the body, it starts to get stripped of those electrons.
Right.
Remember, we're made of acid, so we have to start stripping those electrons because we need them. As soon as we start stripping those electrons, it can now act as a free radical.
Yes.
That is the
you get me?
Yeah, 100%. And this is why now working on now to get the oxygen direct to the cells.
And I think the language as well, because there's oxygen, or cellular respiration, and then there's also oxidation, isn't it?
The oxidation is more like, from my understanding of it, is like where things can become corroded.
Yeah, it's when oxygen's going around like a free radical and stealing
Yeah.
electrons. It can corrode things, it can damage things. And that's the reason why it gets a bad name, because oxidation is a bad thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because oxidation means the loss of electrons.
yeah,
And then reduction means the gaining of electrons. That's why I hate the way they teach science. It's so upside down. So reduction means the gaining of electrons, and oxidation means the loss of electrons.
yeah.
So then they put those two terms together and came up with redox potential. So that's where redox comes from, redox potential, reduction and oxidation. Where basically all they're talking about is the flow of electrons. That's what they're just talking about, electricity. That's it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, thank you, Liam. Because I'm glad you cleared that one up there. Because I know there's enough people there in their mind. We hear too much negative, oxygen is not good for you internally, because it creates an acidic state in the body. But it's true, it's the stripping. So if it is the stripping, that means we have to make sure. It's a funny thing. Different melanated black people, different races, different people have a different acidic level of potential. So acidic in a certain different way. So that is just our voltage. So really then, if we can maintain a voltage that is to your cultural group, yeah, maintain that voltage, Caucasian, more acidic. If more acidic, what is that? That's a higher volt. No, that's a lower voltage, isn't it? Yeah, low voltage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just talking about being what's that called? 7 being 7 point, because 7 in the sense means, yeah, so you're being 6.9, 7 point. So we're just talking about such a small pH variation that we're trying to maintain.
Yeah.
Because remember, cells become bad when they start to lose their voltage. They're losing their charge.
Come back to voltage again.
It's a small variation, and the variation is so small. I mean, 7.35 and 7.45 minus 20 and minus 25 millivolts. I mean, that's not a lot.
Not a lot.
And I think it's more about the feeling. I think people's got to be more aware of how they're feeling.
That's how you interpret your voltage. Is feeling. That's the interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you got pain, like Dr. Jerry Tennant says in his book. This is an indication of low voltage.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Pain, that's an indication of low voltage. But you know what? It could be an indication. Well, it depends on the type of pain. You probably saw who you'd be able to comment on this. But it could be high voltage as well. Because again, think about a circuit, They have a capacity. Every electrical circuit has a capacity. In other words, how much voltage it can take.
Yeah.
So let's say an electric circuit has a capacity of 80 volts. Yeah. And you run 100 volts through that 80 volt capacity. Yeah. You could put that electrical circuit on fire. That electrical circuit would be damaged and set on fire because there's too much voltage. Now I'm thinking that maybe that happens in the body as well, where you feel inflammation, heat, hotness, because there's too much voltage there.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I've been thinking.
I mean, with the body though, the body is never so static like electrical, a copper wire.
Yeah.
Copper circuit's going to be kind of static. You can blow it easily. That's why I think you have a fuse. I'm not an electrician.
But the fuse burst can be like the same. No, but it depends, isn't it? Again, on your melanin distribution, because that's supposed to be a capacitor that's supposed to take in the energy, recalibrate it when it gets full, and make it halfway again. This is supposed to be the process that carbon's going through in the body,
In
absorbed.
regard to what Leon's saying, what we would see, me and Sahu, a lot of the time is when someone, let's say someone's been in a whiplash accident and these fibers have strained, yes, you get the inflammation. And even as Jerry Tennant said, that minus 25 millivolts will go all the way to minus 50.
For regeneration.
And that's when you're creating the new cells of regeneration. But me and Sahu will feel that as heat. It will be that very acute pain, that very all over sensitive pain. That will be the throbbing pain, that will be the, I can't move type of there's just a lot going on. Then over time, we will feel that diminish. If me and Sahu didn't do anything for that person, and that person didn't do anything for themselves, that could turn into then a chronic pain in the sense of now they've got all the scar tissue. And it doesn't have to be as deep as, keloid scar, but that will come as a scar tissue where now everything will feel tight and it might feel like this background pain, or this background weakness, or this background underlying pain that's always there, but it's not as hot.
Radiating pain.
Yes, yeah. Then our job would actually wanting to take it back through the breaking down of now that
it's true.
We want to break it back and put it right up to the minus 50 millivolts again, because we know when we do that the second time, it's gonna get a little bit better. Then a week later or a few days later, we might want to do that again. And then it takes it up, then the body's healing itself even more. Then it settles down closer and closer to the original.
That's through the breaking down of edema or scar tissue, or if there's a nodule and you're breaking that nodule down or something, or creating space in a space that is congested.
Yes, yeah.
Christos is saying there is true, that the voltage is returning back to the 50, 0.5, but then back to baseline, isn't it? 0.25 millivolts, baseline, whole body. Well, actually, yeah. Not whole body, talking cellularly. Because I think as a group, as an organ, it's a bit different, a voltage. But because we're talking about on a cellular level, each cell itself operating.
And the local area we're talking about.
Yeah. But as an organ, the combined voltage make a different voltage. As opposed to thinking that a whole organ is vibrating at 0.25 millivolts, my liver. Therefore, I just need to infuse that with a 0.25. It's not that, that's on a cellular level. Because as Christos said, the body be in flux and everything be moving like liquid light, moving through the body. I like liquid light because it's like plasma. It's just maintain a certain temperature, light and electricity is moving in a certain way. Oh, there's one more thing though that I wanted to say, as I was showing some books earlier on. So we've already got the everyone here has already got this book here, Healing His Voltage. Everyone should have this book by now. Everyone should have that one there. Backup book. You see, backup.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, body.
I was at home. I'll be putting up these books now.
Right.
I'm in Jamaica right now for the family. I'm in Jamaica, so I can't be putting up these books. I was at home.
I got a different one to that one.
Yeah, you got yeah.
I haven't got that one, but I got the other one. Is that Jerry Tennant?
No, this is Wallace
Oh.
Thornhill and David Talbot, the two that done the research. A lot of the research into the electric universe. A lot of the discussion about the stuff we was talking about. And the same with this as well. The electric sky. A lot of research in this. Some of these books actually have gone up in price as well when I was looking at it the other day. But those are really the main books when it comes to trying to understand the universe and the human body, and combining the two sciences together and getting our own level of clarity and having a conversation where we can just express, and then the person hears, and then when they hear, they say something back which expands the conversation, not just take it in and have something negative to say. Because when Leon was saying that earlier on, it's such an important feature that if we're acting as an electron, a donor, and we're giving, we have a higher energy than the person who we're communicating with, or somebody's feeling low in energy, they got a headache, you hug them or you hold them, so you're giving energy. Really, there's a depletion going on here. We just discussed that, we know that. But how do we make this into a circuit that can cause an expansion? Not just a depletion, not just a shrinking, not just a one-way circuit connection here, where I'm just going to give and they're just going to receive and they're going to get bigger and I'm just going to get diminished. The way in which this works, though, is through the person giving back. And that's through word, through saying thank you. Oh, that feels really good. Oh, I needed that for a moment. The person receives them words and then they say something back good. And then from there, we just get a bounce back, like a game going on where now we're oscillating. And the energy starts to grow. And this is how we're moving around in the world. No, this is how we should be moving through the world. Yeah. So we ultimately become, as we've been discussing, donors and stealers. But the stealing is the wrong way to say this. Take and give, it's just a balance of reality, the give and take. It's just the polarity of things. Without one, can't be the other. Without the other, can't be the other. It's like they both work together. None is bad, both are essential. And we should play the game when we become aware of this in our everyday life. Yeah, so try and work with that one there. That when we are engaging in a conversation or a situation and someone's given, then we're going to try to bounce that back. Don't be upset if the person is not aware of what we're just saying here now. And then you try to do that and they can't do that. And not everyone you can teach, but you can work with you. And you know where you are. If you're being taken, people are taken, someone's giving, or if there's expansion, you will become aware.
That's the difference between what you've been describing, sorry, is the difference between acids, alkaline, and antioxidants. Because with acids, they just accept. Alkaline just donate, yeah? See, with antioxidants, they can donate electrons and still have a surplus of electrons. So they're not diminished. Do you get the difference?
So we should be antioxidants in our nature, you're saying?
Oh, no, we should be, like you explained, we should be giving and giving. Yeah? That way no one's diminished. But there are people out there who are antioxidants. Do you understand? Where they can give, and they're still not depleted.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
High potential.
But not all of us are like that.
And them antioxidants are tapped in.
High potential.
They like the sun. The sun just gives you them.
Yeah.
The sun just, you don't have to kidnap them back to the sun. The sun
just
gives.
Radiated. Direct linking up. It's true. And there are many of them is healers naturally as well, if they follow the pathway.
The healers, yeah. They're the healers.
Born that way then. But we can cultivate it and develop the same energy as well, to have an abundant flow.
That should be the goal. Yeah, that should be the goal, to get to that antioxidant level where you can just give and you don't need to worry about receiving. You will receive, but you don't need to worry about receiving at all.
That means you're in the right voltage.
Yeah.
And the magnetism around your body is balanced due to the voltage. And then the one other thing that we always skip this because we're talking about voltage and magnetism, is gravity. Because gravity is involved in the thing. I mean, electric and gravity make longitudinal wave. Them things they're making scalar wave or doing the healing stuff that we're talking about. But gravity is the factor in which is our ability to shift time and space, shift perception, or make things warp, change, look different, or go through mutation, transform. I know mutation of these things are being described in a different way, but when you go through the whole electric stuff there going on and magnetism, you can find that gravity can cause mutation. The shift of pressure, the way in which the geometry is laid out, shifting, that shift can change the way in which the pattern looks, the orientation. That will ultimately make a new pattern or a mutation or a shift. The gravity is one of the most, and we can control gravity now. It's more than just apple falling off the tree, Isaac Newton. It is actually the breath control again. We come back to the breath, everybody. You can control the gravity, the potential, the gravitational potential you can control through the pressure in your dantian, through your belly breathing. Yeah, man. And that will transform. So a lot of the transformations are taking place because of this potential here. Look, I think that can be a conversation for another moment there. But gravity is only
separate one on that, boy. That's deep.
I'm telling you.
Because when it comes to gravity, we go look and we had the ability to levitate.
You see, and how is that happening, defying gravity, if it's not through the pressure of one breath? And I've seen this. I won't go deep, I won't go into it. I've seen levitation, and I've seen the breath control to achieve it. So I know the defying of gravity through my own personal observation can be achieved through breath control.
We haven't done good to answer any of the questions today.
Yeah, we've been going off on a tangent, and we're well over.
Anyone want to go live? People can go live. Anyone want to ask a question live?
Yeah.
Or put it in the chat.
I know there's all questions today are being on chat.
Hi, Guy. Could I ask something, please?
Oh, definitely.
I'm Dorothy. A while back, there was a time when anything I touched, anything metal, I had a shock in my hands, the door handle. I picked up something metal and I got to drop it. It's like a shock in my hands. Why is that? That was sometimes, and now and then I get that. I'll come off now.
Yeah, well, we know the shock is definitely to do with electrons. Static, as Charles was saying.
Discharge.
Is that good or bad? Is something I'm eating, something I'm not drinking?
I love that
water?
one. You can build up a charge in your body from having leather shoes on and walking on the floor. Just walking normally on grass or walking on carpet. You can rub your hand over grass or the carpet, just your hand, and create static charge. The same thing that you're referring to. So it's the over generation of electrons in the body, and it's transferring over, just like watching a plasma ball, where you see, but this time you're seeing an arc from yourself. So that means you've created more electrons in your body. Too much. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing, though.
That thing, it's not. I mean, when you start...
Oh.
Do let us know when you can create electricity from your hands.
Yeah, that is why most all the shoes are rubber. That's why there's such a disconnection, and why the way in which society is directed our clothing is to stop that build up. And if we were grounded, it wouldn't even build up like that anyway.
Right.
If we were grounded.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that we're not grounded.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely they know what they were doing when they give us all these thick rubber soles on our shoes and these nice trainers and all these stuff like that. Yeah. Because we won't be grounded.
Definitely.
And
go on.
That the people doing the acupuncture in the past, like now I've got a machine where you can put the needles in, but you put the crocodile clips on the needles, and that will help to add a charge to the acupuncture and the meridians. But I have a feeling that the people of the past, certain of the healers, could use and generate that same type of static or that same charge that you feel momentarily. And I felt they could, consciously direct it to increased effect of the acupuncture.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you can use frequency to do the same thing like what acupuncture would do, going to the meridian points again through the palms of the hands and the sole of the feet.
Yeah. That
But
is,
yeah, with that static charge build up, someone mentioned it in the chat. Static charge builds, but has nowhere to go until it can jump into another conductive material. So when we're wearing all these rubber soles, trainers, and that sort of stuff, we're building up static charge, and that's the reason why. I don't know if anyone's had this experience in the gym, because everything's rubbering. Like when you're on the treadmill, you're building up that static charge by just running on a treadmill, and then they've got the handle parts which are metal, and then you touch one of them, and you get an electric shock. Yeah. And that's because you've just been building up all of that static charge, running on the treadmill with your rubber soles and that. And then, yeah, it has to release somehow, some way. Yeah. It's funny though, but it can happen between people as well.
that's deep. Is that like the pyroelectricity and the piezoelectricity creating this charge in the body while running in a insulated state? Is that what's created that because I've never experienced that before, but I'm just hearing what you're saying there.
Yeah. Have you experienced that, Christos?
Yeah, no, I have. I definitely have. I was gonna say, for who we need to get you on the treadmill.
Yeah, this man. You see what I'm saying? That's why I don't know this experience.
Experience that, yeah. Everyone who goes to the gym who's used the treadmill at one point, or the cross trainer, all the metal parts, you touch them, you get an electric shock. All the time.
That makes sense. There must be, the environment as well. You're building up, receiving electrons from. You're breathing, you're receiving electrons. That's an interesting one. And everything that's it's a good thing the body can discharge. I tell you that much.
Yeah. And you talked about melanin being a capacitor and its ability to absorb the charge and dissipate it and discharge. So yeah, so melanin kind of absorbs, if we just talk about sunlight, melanin absorbs the sunlight. And a lot of people think that's too much electrons, that's too much energy. But melanin can absorb it and then somewhat transmute it, dissipate it as heat. So it gets dissipated as heat. That's the reason why we literally emit infrared. We can absorb light and emit infrared light. So we can deal with that high energy, that high charge. But then if melanin is the capacitor, and obviously if you have melanin, you have a higher capacitor, it can take more electrons, more energy. Just think about if someone has a lower capacitor, depending on the type of melanin they have, and then they've got all of this energy from the sun, that might be too much. And if it can't utilize and transmute that energy, then what's going to happen?
Burn.
It's going to burn. Yeah.
It's going to produce too
much.
Same
the electric circuit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then why it will start to burn?
I was the same thing I was seeing was the circuit that you described earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
There was a question about I think it was above somewhere. It was saying about if you can't, where was it? About grounding. Where can you do grounding?
Oh, okay.
I can't even.
I was thinking to myself, that since sand is one of the highest potentials for grounding in, and sand being in a beach, it's not like the sand is connected to roots in the beach, like how we see soil is in root or is connected in with the grass and everything. It's like I was thinking, man, when next time you're at the beach, just get some sand, enough to fill up a bucket when you get home, or a little basin or something, and you can just have your little grounding device, homemade, made from sand. You put your foot on that.
Steal some sand from the beach.
Don't make me laugh. Who does that belong to? I don't even know. We're just moving from one place to another.
Take it home and make your own grounding.
Moving from one place to another.
Hey, well, Leon should be able to get some good sand.
They are in Jamaica now, man.
Sand,
No,
man.
I'm afraid about stealing any sand. But yeah.
Everyone put your order in to Leon.
Them little crystals, that must be high quality in Jamaica. High quality
Yeah.
crystals.
Instead of bringing back rum when I come back to the UK, people are going to be bring back some sand.
Imagine the OPC to find a whole load of sand, right? What's going on there?
We start off a whole new revolution because we missed that one there. We only watched that when we do play therapy, and then they were watching children play with sand in a little plaything. And it's no different from a child who's got autism or learning difficulties, and they're going on a horse and they're riding on the back of the horse, and all of a sudden they're quiet. No running around, no talking, they're just on the horse. Same focus when they're in the sand and they're playing. The sand not attached to nothing but plastic. And they're just in there, and it's transforming their whole being. If another child with them, oh my word, that circuit is amazing. Yeah. So come like the CM thing. Right. So I think we are electric universe, and healing is electric, maybe voltage. I think we've gone deep in this one there. Touched a lot of stuff there.
Did we cover all the questions, Christos?
I think most of them. Yeah, let's see. That was that one.
Cover the rest of them.
Yeah, no, I don't see any other questions unless someone wants to quickly ask a question now before we sign off. I think Ramita says she's got some sand from Antigua in a bottle.
See? That's your subconscious being, you know. Your subconscious this new year, man. I need to take some of this back where I'm going.
What do you think about the devices Jerry Tennant talks about in his books? I think that was the only other one.
I'd like to comment on that, just because even with the grounding, there's grounding equipment you can buy on Amazon, like grounding. There's a grounding blanket, grounding this, grounding that. I'd say because these people they learn the science of how the human body works, how, if I'm being honest, how the melanated human body works. They learn the science of it, and then they sell us stuff that we can get for free. Now, I'm not against buying the stuff, because if it works, isn't it? But the best thing is freeness. So we can get the best way to increase the voltage is sunlight, water, grounding on sand would be preferable. And like we said, love, like literally being in a circuit, whether that circuit is your family, whether that circuit is close friends, being in a circuit and sharing ideas, sharing electrons, sharing light, sharing love. That is the circuit. And as long as you're in a circuit where everyone's sharing, that is enough to increase the voltage in your body. As soon as one of them doesn't share, or one of them doesn't receive what everyone else is sharing, now all of a sudden you've created a free radical, and it's going to mess up the circuit. But as long as everyone's sharing love, sharing ideas, sharing knowledge, like what we're doing here,
that's deep.
That's it.
You just reminded me of a story. You just reminded me of something when you said that. Oh, they said when them Jesuit priests landed over in South America, with a story how they didn't know what stealing was. They didn't understand the concept of stealing. So the Jesuit priests had to explain to them what stealing was. And after that, there you go, innit? Started to manifest, but that anonymity is like a separate being, innit? How you just described it. But it's just the same.
Can I just ask something very briefly, very quickly? I had put the question in the chat earlier. When you were talking about how our pH is really important, I was just wondering what's the best time to check it, and the best way the body's pH.
Yeah. I mean, I know you can check it with those dipsticks,
the strips,
litmus.
Yeah. Best times first thing in the morning with the urine.
That's right.
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning with the urine.
Oh, okay. Because because I've heard about doing it before brushing your teeth as well, but I just wondered if which was the best way, if there is a difference between the urine and actually put it in your mouth before brushing your teeth.
Well,
That's the
they
way.
have different pHs though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
pH and urine pH are different. And with
okay.
morning, if you're doing that, some say it's better to allow the first bit of your urine to flow through first, and then you capture that afterwards.
Mm.
And then with the saliva, that seemed like that can be done at any moment. I would say when you do that in the morning, it would be best to determine nighttime flow when you wake
Right.
up.
With the litmus test, the pH of all of these things relates to the blood. So I think you might have to check Jerry Tennant's book, Healing is Voltage. But he says something along the lines of when you test your urine, it will be acidic. It should be about 6 point something. Yeah. So let's say he says it's 6.49. It should be around 6.45 to 6.49. That means your blood is where it should be. Your blood should be between, like Christos said, between 7.35 and 7.45, something like that. But I've heard that your blood should be 7.365. That's the exact number, which I love. 7.365, which means 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's where your blood wants to be, 7.365. Yeah. But you can test that with your urine. It should be 6 point something. That's what Dr. Jerry Tennant says in his book. But then if you test your saliva, again, don't quote me on this, but I swear he said that will be an alkaline number. And that will relate to your blood being 7.365. So wherever you're tested, it's going to relate to your blood pH. So if your urine is too acidic or it's not around that 6 point something, then that means there's something going on with your blood. Something like that.
And I think that's why I think it's more important to try and be in tune with how we're feeling. Definitely over time, when you've lived a certain way and stuff like that, we lose our sensitivity to how we should feel. You know, this is like old people that lose their ability to kind of know how much water or hydrated they should be. You know, it's a natural thing that happens, and it's because when you have so many years of neglecting certain aspects, you know, your body will become desensitized to these things. You know, so I think doing all these other tests is good, but they should be done in a way that helps us to measure or helps give us an external cue of what we should be doing. So using a litmus paper to correlate to how we were feeling.
Yeah.
Rather than using the litmus paper just for testing. Because, you know, who can say how accurate the litmus paper is? You know, your internal is going to be much more, your internal senses are going to tell you much more than anything else someone else can make outside of you.
Definitely. Once you start tuning in and connecting with that.
Yeah. Literally, that would be the easiest way to know if your voltage is where it should be. Just ask yourself the simple question, how do I feel? How do I feel on a scale of 1 to 10? And literally that number will be more accurate once you tune into your true feelings. That number will be more accurate than any of these tests.
It's true.
How do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10?
Be true to yourself.
And that's the same as disease and stuff like that. Because, you know, sometimes you might have a test and the doctor might be checking you for a lump or something, or checking you for something which could be potentially bad. And then sometimes you can get in the mindset of, okay, now expecting the worst. But the way I approach any test and the way I would approach any test personally is I wouldn't shy away from having tests if I need them, but I will do everything I can do to reverse whatever symptoms is likely to happen if I stay on this path. Then go, knowing that I've actually cured myself, to hear not the bad news that could have awaited you, but the good news. Because, you know, sometimes we get the one way the other way. We get it the wrong way.
I know
We
you.
we do the wrong things, then we get the test, and I mean, it's like it's obvious something's gonna be there. You know, if you eating a lot of junk food and you're testing your diabetes for the first time, I mean, what do you expect? But then if you feel, oh, I'm not quite on the right path, use the internal cues to understand you're not on the right path, understand that you're probably going to have bad news or news in a certain aspect, do all the right things to reverse it. And then the first thing you hear is actually you're free of that. That's a very big difference, you know. But it all starts with understanding and listening to yourself because your body's already told you what you got. I've never met any stroke patient that just had a stroke out of the blue. That, you know, oh, I've just had a stroke. When I really talk to them, they've told me stories of dizziness, chest pain for a year.
Yeah, and they're ignoring it for a year.
And even within yourself, there's probably some of you here or family members or whatever, you know, there's something happening in the body if you're not feeling right. And it doesn't mean it has to be something that they can find or see, but the key is to restore yourself before you get any news. It's by tapping into yourself before. We're waiting last minute, we're listening to people that are not us, and then we're getting all the bad news when we don't even have to hear an ounce of the bad news. And there's some people out there who reject everything bad. And they reject it so aggressively, but they're doing the works and they seem to be all right.
Yeah. There's a level of ignorance and denial that come along with them level of working through. Yeah. You have to go on like that.
But don't ignore your body, don't ignore the signs, listen to your voltage. You know if you're high or low. No one else needs to tell you.
So simple, man.
It is. It is. It's just that we've been disconnected. But the good thing is, as we've reiterated this, said it a few times, it's all about becoming connected again. Listening to your inner self, your inner voice. And that inner voice, they say the thing once, and it's so low sometimes, and then it's gone. It's like, missed it once, most of the time. It's only repetitive because it's been going on for a really long time. And you're getting messages from different parts of you sending the same message. But the inner voice, generally, one has to listen. And in being listening, you have to be silent and still.
And that's all what chronic pain is. Chronic pain is basically your body taking your sensitivity threshold down so you can feel the message more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting you say it like that. And that's what inhibits or stops a lot of people from actually doing any healing. Because they feel the pain, the discomfort. They had an accident. And to resolve the accident, the pain in the muscle, it needs to get touched. But they don't want to get touched because of the pain. So they take painkillers. But they don't want someone still to touch it. And the area doesn't get resolved. It just builds up. And this progressively gets worse.
And then when you look at the body as well, if there was something, I mean, the body's telling you by warning you of the pain. If there was something that's so bad, where if you're past the stage of actually the body warning you, the body wouldn't say anything. You would just drop.
I'm telling you, no, that's why you know it's a healing response. That's why you know when you feel pain here, it's actually a good sign. Because if you didn't feel it, you'll be dead. The thing drop off. You lose.
But that's what we do. Like you just said, we take painkillers, we take medication. So, and what Christoph said with regards to feelings is so true. If we tap into our feelings, because again, I don't think we should label feelings as good and bad, like emotions. Oh, I feel angry, I feel this. you're just feeling something. You just go on with the feeling. Yeah, you don't label it bad. You don't label it good, because if you label it bad, now you're gonna feel bad. Oh, I shouldn't be this. I shouldn't be that. I shouldn't feel this way. Now you're gonna feel bad. That's gonna affect your voltage. Yeah. So if you just feel something and then just go on with that message, yeah, and then you can change that feeling. But what do? Like like Sabi just said, we'll take drugs. We'll literally we feel pain and then take a painkiller to mask that feeling. So now when we say to those people, just go on with how you feel. They can't even give us an accurate number from 1 to 10 how they feel, because it's being masked by medication and drugs and all these things.
And look at adrenaline. If a lion bit off your leg or bit off a chunk of your leg, you know, your body's not going to say, okay, let me give you some pain now so you can reminisce about your pain while the lion is eating you. You're not going to feel the pain. If you can get away, you're going to run away.
Imagine that.
You'll feel the pain after.
Imagine
so that's how you know pain is not even telling you that you're dying here. It's warning.
Yeah, that's so true. The pain centers get shut off in those emergency situation there. And all you feel is just pressure, discomfort, but you can go through it to survive. But it's all, as you said, when it comes to you see that, let's say we use anger as an emotion or a feeling that manifests from within, and anger has a certain frequency and vibration, but we haven't attached to the anger the idea that I feel bad for being angry or I feel good for being angry. We just accept we're just angry. The potential of that anger is the voltage that you're going to run with, that potential there. And that actually will be okay. That's all right. But let's say now we add a positive emotion to it, that can shift it. You can say good or bad, let's say. And let's say if we add a negative perception to it, then that can still shift it good or bad. It still gets shift. But if we are able to observe the feeling and the emotion and make a choice whether you're going to move with that one day or not move with it, the potential is so different. The voltage you receive actually, because you've made the choice, it's like you're not disconnected, I should say then. You don't get disconnected and revert. It's like it's almost like amplify you. And just like being happy, being sad, all the emotions is the same. We run with happiness easy. Run with that one there. We don't even have to choose where we want to be. But then if you apply the same concept, it will be the same thing. You experience a happy experience. If you add a negative emotion to it or a positive one, it can go either way.
Yeah.
Either way, the same thing.
Yeah. But like we talked about with melanin, where it can absorb the sun's rays and then transmute that energy. We need to be able to do that with emotions as well.
Yeah.
So we feel an emotion and then we can transmute the energy. So let's go with anger again. Anger, some people use anger and they'll transmute that into assertiveness in sport. So they utilize it in a quote unquote good way. They use that anger to get better. Yeah. They transmuted that energy. It's understanding, how to transmute energy, and even happiness. With happiness, again, a lot of us, you can transmute it, but a lot of us, we're not feeling natural, if you get what I mean. Going back to feeling pain, a lot of us will take medication for the pain. We're not in tune with our own feelings. Does that make sense? So it's the same with happiness. Some people will be like, I feel sad. I want to feel happy. Well, guess what makes you feel happy? Junk food. Guess what makes you feel happy? Going out raving. Guess what makes you feel happy? Taking drugs. Guess what makes you feel happy? Smoking, drinking. Now, all of these things are messing up your voltage. Yeah. But you wanted to feel happy. We're not in tune with just natural happiness, natural feeling of happy. Do you get me?
It's true. We just added layers upon the initial feeling. The initial feeling's gone, and we've just got layers upon layers of we got a book with chapters, different feelings and emotions. When they need to be reduced. Like, I remember Layla Africa with one of his videos was talking about how we people here, before we used to have issues, like one or two things. But now we got we got chapters, we got a whole chapter on one issue and thousands of words. And we got another chapter of issue, thousands of words. I'm like, wow, boy. It's only because of the emotions. And as Leo said, we can try and mute them. But if we need to go back to, because it's calm, innit? The anger stuff, to be angry, the transmutation tool is calming down. It's calmness, inner calm. But that's all right. That work. You can transmute that to calmness. But also, angry is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with angry. So you may not need to transmute it to calmness. You may actually need to run with that because that's what you need in the moment to get through what you need to get through. Regardless if someone else perceive it to be whatever they perceive it to be. This is you here, your world.
That is the biggest revelation.
Yeah. I mean, you already see it with a lot of people out there. I mean, especially some of our people. I mean, they're like, they're just waiting for that opportunity to be angry, They're like,
words.
It made me angry and I'm gonna get £1 million, Tell me I can't do it.
I see this,
There's a lot of people, the successful people, they like it when people say, I mean, Kanye West, like him or hate him. But, he's looking for something where he's like, okay, go on, Eddie, that's annoy me. I'm going to do something and I'm going to get you right back,
Okay,
I think the other day he even built a head office outside of an Adidas shop.
Yeah.
Technical.
Oh, ramp, Right, so I think we covered everything. Yeah, we covered everything. No more questions out there.
No.
That was like Leon said, yeah, any questions there? Swear that was an hour ago.
For another hour.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe we should put stick that one out there. Any more questions?
Well, thank you to, I don't know who X is, but it looks like throughout the thing they've been just highlighting the key points that we've been speaking on.
Well, X did say something. Oh, you see, now you've gone and done it now. There was something about the therapy that they've been doing for the last 10 years. And I was like to myself, what is that therapy there? What is Sienna therapist? Well, I suppose I can do my own search into that stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering if that was related to urine therapy or something. You know about that one there? Yeah, that one.
Charles.
Is that the scalar technology? Oh, the scalar machine there, like what? Oh, not the scanning device. Well, you know what she's talking about there, Charles, before we go.
Hold on there. What's it saying?
It's saying that you know about the technology that she's talking about.
Scalar. I think she means scalar. Who is...
That's what I was thinking. Okay. I think I know now what's going on. It must be scalar.
Yeah. So I think, or is it scanner? Scanner, she's saying. What? It's either scanner or scalar. One out of the two.
Well, yeah, we'll have a look at it. If it's we're assuming the scalar. If not, we'll have a look at it.
We go deep into that one there. If it's not, we're gonna have to look into that one there. You know how we go on over there.
Look at my old site on.
Okay, the rhythm. Yes. Okay, yes, you just said the one from Russia. Okay, yes, that's the rhythm. They got 3 different devices. As a matter of fact, Sahu is always asked me about. That's the one that you see me wear around my neck sometime.
For a moment, yeah, that's what this comes to me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
What was the question on it?
Oh no, that she's been a therapist using that technology for the last 10 years. But I was just wondering, because we was talking about urine therapy at the time, I was wondering what if it was related to the PH stuff. That's what I was actually
Okay, well, if she's been doing it for the last 10 years, then I'd imagine that she definitely knows me.
You know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
All right, family.
So many. The only thing,
Do you have most definitely. We've been practicing urine therapy from when we discovered urine therapy through the Vedic sciences. When you start going into your Vedic science and you go through the Kapha Pita and all that stuff, then figuring out your body type and that stuff, we just explore deeper and we still practice urine therapy. 1 drop of urine to 1 drop of water.
yeah,
If a person has an epileptic fit, or if someone has an ulcer, or if somebody has heart palpitations, a heart issue, someone has liver problem, whatever it is, when they have the bout of that issue, that situation, they feel the tension or the pain, or that part of their body is aching, yeah, and then the body releases urine after that. Then what the urine release is the you can say your body's pharmacy to resolve that issue there. It's just releasing the byproduct of it. So when you ingest it, it's like it reactivates the body, creating those same things for that part of the body again. That's how the science works, without going too deep into it.
No, perfect. Yeah, I think that's all. Oh, last comment. X said, "I'm a he, not a she." LOL.
excuse me.
Do that. X.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
You must be a healer for true then.
yeah.
If you got the feminine energy radiated, you must be a healer. I thought it was a woman.
Yeah, I did as well.
You see it there?
No, I was just wondering how you lot knew. That's what I was.
Who knows? That is just the energy we're talking about there, isn't it? The electrons and the protons. If someone emanated more electrons, then we pick that up. That's the listening that you're talking about. The intuition.
Yes, well, thank you, everyone. Oh my goodness, we really went full length, and thank you for everyone staying. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. You'll find a replay on Sahu's YouTube Tai Chi Future. Yeah, so yeah, enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you, Christos. Thank you, Sahu, for the invite. This was very interesting. Look at that, 3 hours, just like that, boy.
I'm telling you.
Very interesting stuff. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for being antioxidants.
You see, endless. And we just be producing heat. We just be producing the heat here. I've been sitting down, releasing information. It's
amazing.
Yeah, man, it was beautiful.
Thank you, Charles. I'll speak to you in a bit, brother.
Bless my brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Charles, for coming in as well. Soon I knew you was down like, right. You have Charles' input.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. As usual, I'm just there in the field working with the formulators at the moment, being, like I said, on a project for a little while. Hopefully next week it should be out. It's been doing the tests and that. So, yeah, just, the audience, they need to stick to this channel because we've got a lot that we're going to be going into. Yes, a major breakthrough. So I'm just waiting for things to happen, then I can start talking about it. Because you know that when I like to speak, I like to be positive. Have you seen it work, Charles? Yes, I've seen it work.
That's it. Nothing beats experience.
Yeah.
Nothing beats being your own scientist. Your own scientist. Nothing beats this in this reality here. Each person is supposed to be their own scientist. Isn't it, the scientist?
Of course. The way. That is the only way. Do your own research. Your own.
Well, it's a great combination of knowledge, from all of us here. It's just more knowledge, more power. From the comments in the chat there, yeah, I think everyone's really enjoyed it and they've got a lot to go away and think about now.
That's important. That's how we grow. That's how we expand. That's how the field potential grows. Only one direction. Well, thank you, everybody.
Okay, then. Good night, all. Give thanks, my brothers.
Have a
Right.
wonderful
Bye now.
rest of the evening, and we shall see you next time.
All right.
All right.
Yes, 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 for sure.
Good night, everyone.